Alright, this is the HK416 CQB. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the gearbox and change the spring. This is a Prometheus M110. Let's see if I get a couple more FPS out of it. Right now it's shooting around 330, being short stroked. So I'm going to want to see if I can bump it up just a little bit with some 350 FPS. Alright, let's take it apart. Some of this will probably want to fast forward because this is some stuff that we should already know. But this, I'm going to wind up videoing the whole thing. And we'll go from there. This is an SHS high-speed motor. Very high magnet, very strong magnet. This will just be a video of disassembly, the internals of the gearbox, and we'll go from there. Wired to Dean's. It's got an internal Mosfet, a Spectre V2 Mosfet. As you can see, signal wires. Gotta take out the so we'll show you how to get everything apart as well. With this, you gotta push that button in all the way and then unscrew it. Oh, look at that, BB stuck in there. See, this one, the mag catch doesn't have a screw, so basically you have to just spin the other side. Look at that, we got a BB stuck in there. Could be why it was the mags were having a hard time fitting. Just a fluke thing. That'll come out. There we go. Huh. Alright, so let's pull out the rear body pin. Oh, let's go from here. Okay, now that we got all that apart, what we're going to do is pull out the rear body pin. Doesn't come all the way out, sits there, and then the gearbox should come right out. And just take it lower, put it to the side. Take a look at the gearbox. As you can see, the signal wires, I ran them outside the gearbox, just not to clutter the gearbox with all the wires. Works perfectly fine this way. Just didn't want all those wires in the gearbox. Alright, so all the screws are out. What we'll do is pop the gearbox apart. You just pry it apart. You'll get the gearbox shell off. Alright. What I'll do is I'll just show you real fast what's in it, then we'll take it apart, put the new spring in. So basically, got an SHS 15 tooth piston, metal teeth, what we did is we short stroked it. Took up the first two teeth, and then the last two teeth we removed for short stroking. We just put a few holes for the Swiss cheese to lighten it up just a little bit. I'll show you real fast. The AOE, angle of engagement, has been corrected. I'll show you real fast. I'll see if I get it real close. Okay. I don't know if you can see how well the angle fits it perfectly. So basically that first tooth gets picked up almost at 12 o'clock, but at a perfect angle. So 2 teeth have been removed off of the gear, and then 2 teeth removed off of the piston. We use sorbo pads to take care of that. Here we have, I'll move the trigger. Here we have the Spectre version 2 Mosfet. It basically, where's my little screwdriver? You can see here the micro switch trigger. You can see that in the video. Very quick trigger response, very clean, very crisp. It allows you to set burst modes, braking, active braking, and all that. It's an excellent MOSFET, excellent. Very easy to install. Just remove your trigger contacts and put this in place. It also replaces your cutoff lever. It has a built-in cutoff lever, so it replaces it, and it basically, with the active braking on, it will stop exactly in the same spot every time you pull that trigger and release it. These are the stock gears. They have the spring shimming. The shims that are, it's self-shimming, so it's got these springs, which is self-shimming. So again, stock gears, just short stroked by 2 teeth. We got an SHS O-ring piston head, and then we have a SHS double O-ring cylinder head. Great compression. I'll show you real fast. Pushing on it. Very good compression with the O-rings. As you can see, very good compression. You can't even push it. And then when you release it, so we got great compression. The only thing I wanted to do is see if we get a little bit more FPS. This is the stock M110 spring, or I guess they'll say the stock spring that's in the 416 here. And it's going to be a little bit stiffer. Hopefully it's not too stiff. But basically this is a Prometheus M110 spring. So hopefully to gain just a few FPS. Alright, so let's put this thing back together. Since we've seen the internals, everything looks pretty good. Alright, we're going to put the Prometheus spring in. Here's the stock spring, put it to the side. Here's the Prometheus spring. Not 100% sure if you're supposed to put the small coils towards the spring guide or you're supposed to put it away. I'm not 100% on it. But this is the Prometheus spring. So we're going to do it this way and go from there. And then we'll do, at the end, we'll do a quick chrono test. But let's get the trigger back in real fast. Let's see if it's going to stay there. Took a little bit to try to get that trigger in. And that spring set up perfectly. Hopefully it stays in. Let's put the spring back in. Oh, there goes the trigger. Now, hold this all together and get this trigger back in. We could do this again. Oh, popped right in. Okay, let's see if we get everything to stay where it is. Trigger wants to jump. Beautiful. Everything snapped together just perfectly. And you can see how short the trigger pull is. That's it. That's the whole trigger pull on this Mosfet. So let's go ahead and reassemble it. Okay, let's just cinch everything down. By short stroking, you lose about 10 FPS per tooth. You take off the gear. So originally it was shooting around 350, 355 before I did this job. And after putting it all back together, it was shooting 330. So I just figured if I get a new spring, see if I could bring the FPS back up to where it was, 350-ish for CQB. This Mosfet is fantastic. Can't say enough about it. With the burst modes, you could have your either semi or full auto, do whatever you want it to do. I have it set up right now as semi, shoots, single fire, and then my full auto setting is shooting a 3-round burst. What I was going to do is replace this selector plate with a new selector plate from SHS. I don't need to. I don't really know why I'm going to, or why I want to. Might just hold on to that since right now I know it's working. There's two connections right here that basically get pressed down. Once the first one gets pressed down, it's single fire. When it goes down all the way, now it's in full auto. Trigger pulls all the way no matter what setting you're in because you remove your safety. It's electronically controlled, so basically your safety is gone. There's no longer pushing against the selector plate, so you have full trigger pull in any setting. But basically your selector plate needs to have this. It doesn't necessarily have to have metal, but it needs to have be a little bit thicker so that it could depress. This plate here, I had to build up the other side of this a little bit, and it's working fine, so I'm not going to mess with it. But if I have to pull it apart again, I'll just throw that in to replace the selector. Alright, so let's go ahead and put it back in the box, lower, and see where we're at. You can see how basically what I did is I just put a little drop of crazy glue to hold the wires while I'm putting everything back together, just to keep everything tight and not move. And you can see it's just hooked up to Dean's connector. So let's go ahead and put it back in the lower. And you can put the rear body pin in. So once you take the whole front end off, all you need to do is remove this front pin. The rear pin just holds the body in. So with that in, let's go ahead and put the mag catch back in. Again, this has to thread on from the outside here like this. A lot of the M4s you'll see will have a screw on the outside or a Torx bit, which I find a little bit easier than this because they wind up scratching here once you get on too far. Alright, that should be it. Yep. Just select. Just make sure it's not loose. Nope, it's good. And then ambidextrous mag catch. What you do, or this is the bolt catch, I'm sorry, ambidextrous. What I like to do is, there's the metal tab on this side. I press this down all the way by hand, looking inside the gearbox. Just slide that back in, it'll hook, and you'll see. If I press the other side, see how it goes down. So, and then the little pin. And then the body pin. That's it. Alright, so lower's all back together. I'll do is put the motor grip back in. That's tight. Alright, so like I said, normally your red wire is coming up the same side, the opposite side. And in this case, this is just how this one's wired. So you just got to keep an eye on how you're putting the motor back in. That's all. That one's on. That one's on. so moment of truth. Alright, so moment of truth. Let's go ahead and get a battery. Let's hook it up to a battery. And let's see if it fires. Let's go ahead and put it in. See, safety. You have full trigger pull. Just no, because it's gone. So right now it's in 3-round bursts. Back to single. Alright, well, it's all working. Let's go ahead and put the... Alright, so now let's go ahead and put the upper back on and do a quick chrono and see where we stand. Alright, so let's go ahead and chrono it. What I do is I gotta hook up the battery. I have a mag here and my makeshift chrono station, which you might not be able to see because of my camera, but I'll read it out to you. Let's make sure it fires. Alright, so let's go ahead. I'll read it out to you actually. 349, 349, 352, 356, 54. So it's perfect right where I want it. 355, 354. So we're at 350. So that's perfect, right where I want it to do. So full auto, it's shooting around 33 rounds per second, and now it's shooting 350 FPS. So perfect, just where I wanted it to. That's where I was hoping. And I'll finish putting it back together, and maybe I'll get another video of the chrono so that you guys could see it. All right. I figure I'd do see if I get the chrono, see if you can see the chrono. But right now, it's all back together. Just need to put the stock back on. But basically, got a battery in. Let's go ahead. Let's see if you could see the chrono. This is semi. Whoop, let me see if I can set it up. 355, 350, 54. And then my burst. Back to semi. So it's around 345 to 350. Once it settles springs, it'll probably settle to about 340. So, all right. So we'll go from there.